let's say you have an amazing payload you want to fly, right? You go spend all this money, this time. Let's say you have your own company. You're going to generate revenue from this payload. If the bus does not work, that's a non-starter for you. Similar to like on the launch site, how would you feel if you booked a flight on a rocket and it did not make it to orbit? And your payload was working, your satellite was working. Like, how devastating is that? So you have to have trust in us that it'll work. So reliability, number one, most important. And look, we're not building Class A systems, but we're building systems where there's heritage, there's a track record, and we're happy to go into all that engineering detail with our customers.
Yeah. So you hit on a very interesting point, which is a lot of the new space satellite startups that I've come across have had their first launch fail on orbit because of a unreliable component. SATA failures. Think there was another company that had tumbling in orbit because of attitude control issues. Which brings me to the counterpoint that Aries holds a world record unofficially, that it is the first production run of a satellite that has made it to space in working condition in the fastest time.
I hope that's right. So what I will say is, somebody the other day said, Ian, you keep describing this as you set, to the best of your knowledge, a world record. And they said, why do you say that? And I said, well, I don't know. Like, maybe there's something I don't know. So my thought here is, we should call up the Guinness Book of World Records, who is the official record holder for these types of things, and see if we could get a Guinness Book of World Record. That's what I think we got to do.
I feel like there aren't enough space records represented, so I'm thinking of starting just a website to put up records of new space companies.
I love it. Who needs the Guinness Book of World Records? I want that website. That's all we need. I will say though, having it work is important, right? I would say it's bad for the industry when there's any failure. So I hate seeing failure on orbit. And there's been, look, it's not just new space, right? Space is hard. Look at Starliner, who's currently docked on the ISS and is having issues. Like, that's not something to celebrate, right? That is terrible, because having to say, okay, the Starliner no longer works and now we're solely dependent on Dragon, which, by the way, Dragon, SpaceX, incredible company, amazing. But just as a citizen of the planet and wanting more and more access to space, I want to see more vehicles flying and more success. So, I think the two most recent issues that we've seen, and I say this because they were on the ride to orbit that we were Transporter 10 or the one before Transporter 9, like seeing what True Anomaly went through, losing their two spacecraft. I mean, I feel terrible for them, and we tried our best to kind of help them on orbit as best we could, but like, it is a really tough situation. I'm so happy that they continue pushing forward. Or even Impulse, right? Impulse is an amazing company, but hearing the news, I think it was last Friday or maybe the Friday before, they announced that they had lost contact with their satellite, right? After, less than a year on orbit. And like, that is so tough, right? And they're an amazing company. They build amazing systems, but to have a communications failure in less than a year in is it's really tough. And it's not good for anybody. Like, I want to go be a customer of Impulse and use their OTVs. Like, that is tough. Yeah, I'm like very excited for all of that. So it's really tough. That being said, we've only been on orbit since March. Everything is working really well. We have multiple customers on there. They've all used it. Their payloads all work. We have our cool selfie camera. I think we've shown off some images. And it's working really well. But look, things go wrong all the time. So we don't think of our first mission as complete. We think of it as it'll continue to be in progress. For us, it's an in-orbit test bed that we want to go use for many years.
And it's TRL-9.
It's TRL-9, but it's not something that we're like, oh, it's in orbit, it's done. It's something we continue to stress test every day because we want to prove to our customers that we have that high reliability.